A major and potentially dangerous severe weather outbreak is gearing up to impact more than 100 million people over the next several days, with the threat of destructive winds, giant hail, and multiple tornadoes continuing to grow. Forecasters are especially concerned about Monday, which is increasingly looking like the most dangerous day of this entire pattern. Conditions are becoming favorable for intense supercells, capable of producing strong, long-track tornadoes across parts of the Great Plains and Midwest. But before we even get to Monday, severe storms are already expected throughout the weekend, and the setup remains extremely active well into next week. Let's break everything down beginning with Saturday. The Storm Prediction Center has placed parts of Nebraska, Colorado, and Kansas under an enhanced risk, which is a level 3 out of 5 for severe weather. A broader, slight risk stretches across much of Iowa, where the threat for stronger storms appears to be increasing through the afternoon and evening hours. Beyond that, a huge marginal risk area extends from Utah and Texas all the way into West Virginia, meaning isolated severe storms are possible across a massive part of the country. The biggest concern today will likely be damaging straight-line winds. Some storms may produce wind gusts over 80 miles per hour, particularly in southwestern Nebraska and northwestern Kansas. Areas farther east, including Omaha, could still experience severe wind gusts above 75 miles per hour. Large hail is also expected with several storms, and some hailstones could become extremely large, potentially reaching baseball size or even larger in isolated cases. Across central Iowa, meteorologists are also watching for an increasing tornado threat as atmospheric conditions continue to improve through the day. Current outlooks include a 5% tornado risk across Nebraska, Colorado, and Kansas, along with a broader 2% risk extending into Iowa. However, there is concern that Iowa's tornado probabilities could be increased in later updates if storm development becomes more favorable. Residents across these regions are encouraged to stay weather aware and have multiple ways to receive warnings through the evening. Even with today's storms, Sunday and Monday are expected to bring even greater concerns. Sunday's setup already shows signs of a widespread severe weather outbreak. Enhanced risk areas cover portions of Minnesota, Nebraska, Iowa, and South Dakota, while slight and marginal risks stretch from Wisconsin down into Kansas and even into North Texas. Damaging winds will certainly be possible, but giant hail and tornadoes may become the dominant hazards. Forecasters are particularly concerned about supercells capable of producing tennis ball to softball-sized hail Sunday afternoon and evening. Areas near Sioux Falls in northwestern Iowa could see the most intense hail-producing storms, although severe storms farther south and west could also become dangerous. Tornado potential is also elevated from northern Kansas into southwestern Minnesota, including areas near Minneapolis, Owatonna, and Des Moines. The highest concern remains focused on eastern Nebraska and nearby regions where storms may remain isolated enough to support stronger tornadoes. By Monday, the atmosphere may become primed for a potentially historic severe weather event. The Storm Prediction Center has already outlined a large enhanced risk area from Oklahoma into Iowa, with broader severe weather threats stretching from Texas all the way into parts of the Midwest and Great Lakes. Meteorologists have also highlighted the possibility for stronger tornado and wind probabilities to be introduced in future outlooks. One especially concerning detail is the presence of a rare Day 3 SIG-2 tornado risk area. This designation signals the potential for EF3 or stronger tornadoes with any discrete supercells that form. While significant tornado outlooks have occurred before, seeing this type of setup highlighted 3 days in advance is extremely unusual and underscores the seriousness of the forecast. Outside the highest tornado risk area, large hail, damaging winds, and scattered tornadoes remain possible from Texas northward through Iowa and into parts of the Midwest. The exact severity will depend heavily on storm mode and how atmospheric features evolve during the afternoon and evening. If storms remain more isolated, the tornado threat could increase substantially. Timing-wise, storms on Saturday are expected to begin developing between 4 and 5 p.m., especially near Denver, Colorado, and across Iowa. Storms should rapidly intensify through the evening, with multiple supercells forming across central and southern Iowa by around 6 p.m. Large hail and isolated tornadoes will be possible, particularly between 5 and 9 p.m. Farther west, storms near the Interstate 70 corridor in western Kansas and southwestern Nebraska could produce very large hail and a few tornadoes. Meanwhile, a separate line of storms across Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio may bring widespread damaging winds through the evening hours, along with an isolated tornado threat. Late Saturday night, clusters of thunderstorms are expected to continue across Iowa, Nebraska, and northern Kansas. While the tornado threat should decrease after midnight, damaging winds, heavy rainfall, frequent lightning, and localized flooding could continue overnight. Sunday's storms are expected to become more intense and widespread. By late afternoon, thunderstorms should already be ongoing across South Dakota and western Minnesota, mainly producing damaging winds. Later in the evening, more isolated supercells are expected to develop across eastern Nebraska and nearby areas, where the threat for strong tornadoes may increase significantly. Around sunset Sunday evening, tornado potential may become maximized northwest of Omaha, especially if storms remain discrete and avoid clustering together too quickly. Additional storms in central Nebraska may also become capable of producing tornadoes. Large thunderstorm complexes are then expected to spread into Minnesota and Iowa later in the evening, bringing widespread damaging winds and isolated tornadoes. Monday's setup appears even more volatile. During the early afternoon, isolated storms may begin forming across Iowa and nearby regions. Any isolated supercell that develops in this environment would have the potential to produce very large hail and possibly a strong tornado. However, the greatest concern may focus farther south and west across the Central Plains, where extreme wind shear and a sharp dry line could create an ideal environment for dangerous supercells. By late afternoon and evening Monday, storms may rapidly intensify from Kansas into Iowa and Minnesota. If storms stay isolated before merging into lines, the environment could support intense tornadoes, including the possibility of EF3 or stronger tornadoes. Areas farther east may deal more with damaging winds and large hail, although tornadoes cannot be ruled out there either. After sunset Monday night, storms are expected to become more widespread from Kansas through Wisconsin and Illinois. Damaging winds, hail, and embedded tornadoes may continue overnight before gradually weakening by Tuesday morning. Even then, the severe weather pattern may not be finished. Tuesday could bring another round of severe storms from the Midwest into the southern plains, depending on how quickly the overall storm system moves eastward. Some forecast models continue to indicate a strong low-pressure system over the Great Lakes, which could support another enhanced severe weather setup across areas including Chicago and St. Louis. At minimum, Tuesday's storms could produce damaging winds, large hail, and a few tornadoes. Beyond Tuesday, scattered severe storms may continue from Texas into the Northeast through Wednesday and Thursday before another active pattern potentially develops by next weekend. Overall, the next 4 days are shaping up to be extremely active across large portions of the United States. Severe thunderstorms, giant hail, destructive winds, flash flooding, and tornadoes, including the possibility of significant long-track tornadoes, all remain possible. Anyone living in the threat areas should closely monitor forecasts and be prepared for rapidly changing weather conditions through early next week.